For nearly 50 years, the official record said Soviet pentathlete Boris Onishchenko was caught cheating at the 1976 Montreal Olympics, disqualified and sent home in disgrace. That's the story they tell. It isn't what happened. Someone made sure you'd never hear what came after the plane landed in Moscow. Here's what the records were rewritten to hide. Montreal, 1976. The Soviet Union is a machine built to win. Every gold medal is proof the system works. Modern pentathlon is the crown jewel: fencing, swimming, riding, shooting, running, all in one man. Boris Onishchenko is that man, three-time world champion, army officer, a national hero before he steps onto the strip. The event is team fencing epee. A touch of the blade tip triggers a light, registers a hit, decides medals. Onishchenko squares off against Britain's Jim Fox. Fox feels nothing. The light goes off anyway. Officials wave it away once. Then it happens again. And a British colonel with a very good eye asks to see the sword. The sword is heavier than it should be. The colonel turns it over. Inside the handle, hidden under the grip tape, is a wired plunger, a manual trigger. Squeeze it, and the hit registers whether the blade touches anyone or not. Onishchenko hasn't just been fencing. He's been pressing a button. The judges disqualify him on the spot. The story that reaches the newspapers the next morning is simple. A cheater caught, humiliated, sent home. British tabloids rename him Boris Onishchenko. It's a punchline, a closed case. But that's not the part they buried, because the real question was never whether he cheated. Everyone saw that happen in front of a stadium full of witnesses. The real question is what happened to him the moment he stepped off that plane in Moscow, and why within weeks his name stops appearing anywhere in the Soviet press at all. Not in disgrace, in silence. The easy explanation is embarrassment. The USSR loses face, buries the story, moves on. That's what everyone assumed for decades. But embarrassment doesn't explain the completeness of it. Onishchenko isn't just left out of headlines. His name is scrubbed from Soviet pentathlon records. His world championship titles are quietly omitted from official histories published years later. Teammates are told not to discuss him. A three-time world champion, a decorated army officer, vanishes from the official memory of a country that worshipped its athletes like saints. That's not embarrassment. Embarrassment fades. This looks deliberate, organized, and maintained, the kind of erasure that takes an institution, not an accident, to sustain for years. Here's what the record never says. The Soviet sports ministry didn't just want Onishchenko forgotten. They needed him forgotten because his cheating wasn't a personal failure. It was a liability to the entire myth the state had built. Soviet dominance at the Olympics wasn't framed as talent. It was framed as proof of communism's superiority, engineered by state science, unbeatable by design. One rigged epee threatened to unravel that story on live international television. So the ministry did what it did with anything that threatened the myth. It didn't just punish the man. It deleted him. Defectors and former officials who left the USSR in later years gave conflicting accounts of what actually happened to him after 1976. Some claimed he was stripped of his military rank and pension. Others said he was quietly reassigned, driving a taxi in Kiev, under a level of obscurity too soft for a public humiliation, unless someone higher up wanted the story to disappear quietly instead of loudly. No Soviet file was ever open to the public. No official statement was ever issued beyond the disqualification. For nearly 50 years, no state archive, no sports federation, and no surviving official has ever produced a documented, verified account of where Boris Onishchenko lived, worked, or died. Only rumors, second-hand claims, a single disputed death date nobody can confirm. Think about what that means. An athlete competed in front of millions on camera in one of the most-watched scandals in Olympic history, and the state that trained him made sure the rest of his life would never be verifiable by anyone outside its own walls. It cost him more than a medal. It cost him a documented existence. It cost sports historians a paper trail that should have been routine: birth, career, discharge, death, the kind of record every Olympian gets. Instead, there's a gap where a decorated champion should be, You were told this was a story about a cheating scandal. It was never just that. It was a demonstration of how completely a state could unmake a person once he stopped being useful to the story it needed to tell the world. Somewhere in that 50-year gap is a real answer, a hospital record, a death certificate, a family who knows. Someone has it. They just haven't spoken. And if a state can erase a 3-time world champion this completely, standing in the middle of an Olympic stadium in front of the entire world, what makes you think anyone smaller than that is safe from the same silence?